Jesus didn't pull any punches in this morning's gospel lesson. This is a hard lesson because Jesus takes the law of the Old Testament and says, you know how we have these commandments and you're pretty good at keeping the commandments? Well, let me tell you, you're not as good as you think you are. Because if you're obeying just the letter of the law, then you're failing at the spirit of the law. If you look at the commandments, you remember you shall not commit murder. But if you have anger or hatred, or if you insult your brother or sister, it is just as bad. How many of us are in trouble already? Yeah, this is a hard lesson. If we have thoughts of anger towards someone, we may as well have already murdered them as far as God is concerned. Because the whole point of the law is not to give us these very strict rules by which to order our lives, but to be a guideline for us of living in right relationship with one another. And if we are angry with our brothers and sisters, and not just our brothers and sisters by blood or by family, but our brothers and sisters in God, so everyone, if we have anger towards them, then we have done something to lessen the kingdom of God. Because we are trying to remove people from it. And in actuality, we're removing ourselves. So it's important that we follow the spirit of the law, not just the letter. And Jesus goes on further and he says, you have heard it was said to those of ancient times, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you, if you have looked at a woman with lust, you have committed adultery. So again, how many of us are in trouble? It's important to know, because we live in times where we want to take the pressure away from ourselves and put it onto someone else. Especially when it comes to this one. Oh, she was dressed too provocatively. She was showing a bit too much skin. That halftime show at the Super Bowl, those women, I can't believe what they were doing. That was awful. Do you know what Jesus would say if we were to go to him and say, can you believe how these women were dressed? If looking at them causes you to sin, tear out your eyeballs. Don't worry about what they're wearing. Worry about what's going on with you. If you can't look at someone else without objectifying them and making them something for you to desire and nothing else, if you can't look at someone and see that they are a fellow child of God, then that's a you problem. And you should just tear out your eyeballs so you don't have to look at them anymore. Because that's what's going to be best for the kingdom of God, is for you to be blind and not having impure thoughts because you're blind. Not that they need to cover up. Not that they need to not express themselves. Have you seen the halftime show, by the way? This is an aside, but it was phenomenal. Like, those women are incredibly talented. As I've written in an epistle article, I grew up dancing. I can't do those dances. That's complicated, technical. There were like 5 or 6 different types of cultural dances done there. They sang in 3 or 4 different languages. Shakira played like 4 different instruments over the course of 15 minutes. That's ridiculously insane and talented. And if you look at that and you don't see the talent and the work that was put into that kind of spectacular performance, and all you see is, oh, they were showing too much skin and it was too sexual and sensual and I can't believe my kids saw that, that's a you problem and you might need to tear out your eyeballs. Because the law of God is about being in right relationship with one another. And we need to look at one another and see our common humanity. We need to see that we are the same. We're children of a loving God. And that love exists for us regardless of what objectifying desires or hatred other people have for us. That exists whatever objectifying desires or hatred we have for other people. We can't hate someone enough to make God not love them. It's not possible. We cannot reduce anyone to a level that is below God's love. Because God's love exists for everyone, and it knows no boundaries. There is no thing that you can do that will get God to stop loving you. There is no thing that you can do that will get God to stop loving someone else. So what we need to do is we need to recognize that we too need to love one another. It doesn't matter how angry that person makes you. They're a child of God and they need to be loved and respected. It doesn't matter how provocatively dressed a person is. And I can't tell you how insane I get when we talk about cases of sexual assault and rape and people want to ask one of the first questions, well, what was the woman wearing? As if clothing makes you worthy to be raped. We need to look at one another with love and respect and dignity, because that is a gift we have all been given from God. And if we deny that, then we have lessened the kingdom of God by ourselves. We have taken ourselves out of that perfect community that God intends. We don't take anyone else out of God's community. We don't have that power. But we can remove ourselves. And if we take ourselves out of the kingdom of God, it is less than it is meant to be. So my hope and my prayer for you is that you work with me in learning to look at one another with nothing but love. That you learn to see someone for more than what they can offer you. That people are not there to be the object of your desire or your anger or whatever. That they were created for something so much more. That you see these people and you see reflected in them the image of the God who created them and created you. You see nothing but love and compassion and kindness and mercy and justice. That's what following the law is meant to be about. Not adhering to a strict code of knowing when it's okay to do something and when it's not okay. It's simply about looking at the people around you and being in relationship with them. A relationship that honors who God has called them and created them to be. If we do anything else, we've missed the point. Let's be in right relationship with one another. Let's be in right relationship with the world around us. Let's be in right relationship with our God. And let's go out into the world in love for each and every one of God's children. Amen.
I disagree with you, but I still like you as a person who is a human being, and I'll treat you like that. Because if I didn't, it would make everything bad, and that's what lots of people do, and it's lame. Whew, I need a water break, y'all. It's okay to disagree, but it's not okay to be mean.